In this podcast, I talk to Jan Heimes, co-founder and CEO of Nido, an AI startup from Berlin that just raised $2.2 million as a seed round. In this conversation, we talk about his founder's journey, the secrets and stories he has collected along the way. We talk about the characteristics of leadership, how to raise funds, how to create a positive atmosphere at work, and also how to preserve faith in times of uncertainty. I hope this podcast is particularly useful for those who are considering to enter the arena themselves and build something good for humanity. Enjoy this episode and looking forward to see you soon. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, "A person who can say no can bring down a tyranny." Our sponsors, NeoVPN.online, stand in total congruence with these beliefs. The company is run by a friend of mine who's a great founder and revolutionary who fights day in and day night to empower countries all around the world so that the sovereign, free thinkers there can decide for themselves what to watch, what to read, and who to talk to. We support them as they are supporting us too. So please go to neovpn.online, change your VPN, and go there. They're much better, and they are aligning with us. Jan, so happy to welcome you to the podcast.
Hey, also, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I think we've met 3 months ago, or was it even longer?
Maybe 3 months ago, or maybe 5 now. Time passes fast, I think, these days.
For people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself at these days?
Oh, that's a great question. I would introduce myself as a data extrovert. It's kind of a word I like to use. Kind of like I'm a very extroverted person and also data-driven person. And I live by the philosophy of learn to learn to learn. So never stop learning. And
I love that.
Learn to learn.
It's to how I met you. I think sometimes it's interesting to investigate that a little bit further. I moved to Berlin 3 months ago, and for me, I had the choice of going either to Silicon Valley or America or to Berlin to maximize the chances of creating a successful environment for my new startup. And Berlin just made more sense to me. And in the beginning, I didn't know anybody here. And you were one of the first founders I met here who was on a high trajectory onwards, and it was a little bit like Silicon Valley was in Berlin a little bit. And it was a great experience to meet another founder who has high dreams, high excellence of character, and where I could learn so much from. And for me, this stage was a lot about like getting started. And I have something, I have to return it back to you. Do you remember this cap?
Oh yes, I remember.
It's your cap. I have to give it back to you. It's like, it says prototype on top of it.
Yes, perfect.
And one day you forgot it here, and it was laying there for a whole month. And sometimes I would put it on my head and say like, I'm gonna channel the energy of Jan, who's already past the stage of the idea stage and building and is in the arena in a way. And I was sitting down with this cap on my head and I say like, I have to also make it past the stage. And I did, like I finished my prototype yesterday, so I want to return it to you, and I want to also give you a book, which is a gift.
Oh, yeah, so nice.
And it's one of the things I noticed about you is that you are a very pure person, pure in heart, in vision, and what you want to do. And this is a book that is not so pure in character. It's about the darker sides of leadership as well. It's by Niccolo Machiavelli. It's The Prince. It's a book written hundreds of years ago, where it's a manual for leaders, and particularly young leaders, to grow into the new responsibilities of all the threats that wait in the next chapter. So I hope this will be
I've heard about this book. I never read it, but I've heard about it. But I'm really looking forward to read it, actually.
It's a great book. My father ordered me to read it when I was 16 years old. No, I was 15 years old, actually. And it's been one of the greatest books I've ever read. It's not the easiest book to read, but it's definitely going to have an impact.
So once you have kids, you will do the same, I guess.
Well, my father is an interesting person. Maybe they get to read this stuff a little bit later to preserve the child in a way.
Okay.
What is it currently like to be you in this stage of your life?
First of all, I thank you very much for these very kind words. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you, and I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, and I hope also you forgive my apology for the cap, but it meant so a lot to me to have this.
No, it's so
this
cool.
Cap in a way.
I appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
No, because as a founder, it's really cool to see sometimes these things become like you're already funded, you already have a team, you have a technical co-founder, you're already onto something and the world is opening up to you. And sometimes when you're in the first stage, just seeing examples that this is possible can be very inspiring in a way. So you also think it's possible to you. So thank you for walking this path and for leaving a little bit of a trail, and for people like me who can follow.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that actually.
How would you describe this current chapter of your life? What it's currently like to be you?
Current chapter of my life currently, how is it to be me? Wow, that's a good question. I think sometimes we are so caught up in like our daily life that I even don't think about these kind of questions. So it's a very interesting question you're asking here right now. I think like right now it's like I was like really stressed. I think at the beginning of this year, March, April, we have really ambitious goals, and I mean we are pushing really hard to reach them. And I could feel that like we are making progress, and we are making progress every day, and everything kind of counts. And so I just came back from the US. I was like in San Francisco for around like 1.5, 2 weeks, and then I was 1 week also in Costa Rica. And I went to Costa Rica, and it was my very first holiday for like I think 2 years or something. I was there like for 6 days, and I could really feel that I need it. So how is it to be right now being me? I felt it was a bit like even like a reviving moment of myself, because I was like living in many different places. I was always fast, and now I feel like, okay, I'm very confident with myself. We are going to make it. It's going to happen. But sometimes it's also okay to take maybe 10 minutes more for something specific, and like these 10 minutes sometimes don't like matter that much as I thought. Sometimes I was like in the few months ago, I was like very hectic sometimes even maybe, and worried. Like let's say I go to the gym, afterwards I want to get back as fast as I can to the desk, and I thought that these 10 minutes count, but subconsciously they made me then very stressed and kind of created like maybe some kind of anxious feeling inside me. So now I'm like very confident with myself. How's it to be me? I mean, it's a difficult question to answer. I think right now very confident and having more like of a calmness in myself, but still the belief that this is going to be great and going to be big, and believing in this 100%. Otherwise I wouldn't dedicate every day of my life to it. But I have found a little bit more of like kind of confident in myself, I feel.
You're the founder and CEO of a thriving startup called Nido. What is something about the responsibilities that have come along with it that has surprised you, or something where that you now come to see with different eyes?
Some of the responsibilities maybe is like when you work with other people, it's like very important to be very empathetic, to understand very well how they are. Like I think before I was once a YouTuber, and I was a software engineer in USA and in Switzerland, but now it's like all eyes are on you. And something I realized is like to be more empathetic with other people is something I had to learn a bit more to be better in that, even because sometimes I feel like I'm such a head person and I'm like pretty direct communicator and just saying what I think. Sometimes that's not the right thing to do. Sometimes it's better to say something you think, but just don't speak it out, because to be empathetic with the other person. So this is maybe something that I realized is I didn't realize I'm not that good in it until I realized. So it's something which I had to learn, and maybe a responsibility or like a skill that I needed to get better in, which I didn't expect so much to get better in, because I didn't know that I'm not that good in it.
I can relate. Like for me, for instance, it came very late to me, the responsibilities of being a CEO and being a leader of a company where, for instance, people actually listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And like that's something that taking yourself seriously and knowing that when you're leading people, there's a great responsibility in they trust you that you lead them somewhere better in a way. So I feel like every single moment that other people are investing in your ideas actually is super important and meaningful. And for me, it came very late, for instance, that I'm not pursuing ideas that I don't 100% believe in or that I know will work. It's like that's something where that came very late to me, for instance, the making sure everything is going right. Any story that comes to your mind where you, with your unique background from tech, has where you didn't have those skills of being empathetic, where you maybe like didn't do it correctly?
In this current past of myself now, in this year, Yeah, I have a few actually. I think, and I learned from them. But I mean, one example maybe is it's sometimes like we worked with, let's say we worked with one person in the past. We are not working anymore together, but I was so caught up and so stressed that I was focusing a lot on like going forward with the company, pursuing our goals, that I forgot sometimes maybe that behind the other thing is really a person and the story. This person is not just like, I mean, I'm also myself a human and a person in the end, but sometimes when you get so caught up with work and like being so ambitious, you forget that, and you like maybe don't communicate like heartful enough, or like don't put yourself enough into the perspective of the other person. So I have done there something incorrect in the past. I think it's not like I was mean or horrible person, but I just said straight what I thought, and I think I should not have said that. Instead, I should have maybe give it a bit of a time and just maybe say it just through like a different way of communicating it. But on the other hand, I think this annoys me a bit also of our society, because sometimes we many times think things, but we don't say them. So everybody is walking around a bit with a mask on themselves, and is kind of portraying somebody they are with a bit of a mask, but they're never pure themselves. So I like always to be very much pure myself, but I think it's just not always the right thing to do. So that's something I had to learn actually, I think. So yeah, I think maybe that's
I love that, being appreciative of the other other person's story. And think sometimes it's easy to forget how much weight the words of a leader actually carry. For instance, I was looking up to my older brother for a long time, and when I was a basketball player, and praise from him meant the world to me. And if he was in competitive mode and he would say something that would discourage me, it completely deflattened me in a way. So I think sometimes knowing also not like what to say, but in what order and how much poison can I throw at this person without like deflating it. I think it has to make the other person better in a way.
Yeah, I think you never want to poison. You want to maybe motivate, and you want to motivate maybe also by encouraging the other person, by saying, hey, you can do this better, but how do you communicate that is sometimes difficult to say, because every human is different and every human reacts very differently towards different kind of phrases. It's not like there's one formula, right? I find this very difficult about, like, I like very much data and I like mathematics, and it's really clear 1 + 1 is 2, I don't know, but it's never different. But it's not like in human kind of the science. Human science is actually very complex, and much more complex than I realized. Like, every human is so different. Some people react very hard to a specific word because maybe they made a difficult experience in the past where somebody said exactly that about them. And I mean, I also had myself a YouTube channel in the past, and you're also doing like content creation. And I realized even that back then, myself, I had like people writing in the comments something like a specific comment, where theoretically this is an anonymous person, and you shouldn't care about what they say, right? Because who cares? It's just a random person with a fake profile writes you a comment, a hateful comment. But if this comment maybe specifically triggers or hits a point that you yourself as an insecurity have already thought about in the past, it hits very different. It hits really hard. And I think this is something also which happens with other humans. Maybe you say something and you think was just a normal phrase, not so hard words, but it triggers something in them which like makes them like go back to this kind of moment. And this is a very difficult side about human
I love
science.
that you're saying this, and it's like being appreciative of the invisible fight somebody else is engaged in that you have no idea of. For instance, I was making a YouTube video. I was a short or something where I just shared some of my dreams here to come here and to meet my co-founder and raise $2 million. And there was this one comment like, you will not even raise a cent. And I was like, but the time I read it, I was like, it was midnight. I was emptied out, and I was just like, reading this was like, it hit me a little bit different at that point in a way. And I feel like sometimes critique is fine, but for instance, when I started playing basketball, in the beginning you have to fall in love with the game. You can't just critique a child like for every move they're making, otherwise they stop playing in a way.
Yes, exactly.
That comes very later. And I think like in regards to entrepreneurship, I still see myself as a beginner. So the most important thing is to not quit. And I think like sometimes people underestimate to not throw 800 things you can improve, because then the initial reaction is, well, if I'm that bad, maybe I do something else. And that's like something I find
Disencouragement, yeah.
Yeah, it's like how full is the bank account for stress of that person, and if it's already in the red, maybe you don't have to add like 800 things. Maybe it's just that person like have more frequency and experience in doing that.
Yeah, very well said. Actually, you have to fall in love with the game. I think that's right.
Yeah, you can never fall in love with it. That's like why, like, you know, like a friend of mine, Jar. He's also working here very hardly. He's sometimes
working very hard,
he's working very hard. But there's a difference between being self-aware and self-critical to the point where you're punitive to yourself, because then you decondition yourself to the very thing you need to stay in love with in a way, and then it's actually contradictory. Who was a mentor maybe from the earlier childhood, or that made you fall in love with the game?
Oh man, that's an amazing question. I love to answer that question. So the story is even a bit crazy. So I was like 19 years old. I studied my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I had a bit of extra money in my bank account, and I was like, what should I do with this money? Luckily, half of it I put a bit into Nvidia and Apple back then, so it was a very good investment.
Really?
Yeah.
Nvidia back
yeah,
then,
I bought
90.
Nvidia shares back then. I'm a bit lucky, man. And the other half, and I wouldn't even have spent it neither on like Nvidia, even though this would have gone very well. It was not like crazy much, but it was like a few $1,000. But anyway, it was a cool experience. So I decided just randomly to book a flight to Singapore. And I booked a flight to Singapore during my semester break, and I also kind of came late again to the semester, so I was 3 months in Southeast Asia. And I was traveling like crazy, and I was living like really low life, like $10 a day I tried to spend. I slept in buses, I slept on the cheapest hostels, €1-2 a night. And one night I was so exhausted from the whole trip, I thought, okay, tonight on Gili Islands, let's go for a bit fancier hostel. So I went for this a bit fancier hostel, which means like spending €8 a night or something like this, which is already like a medium upper tier category there. I don't know how the prices are now, but back then it was like this. It's like 9 or 8 years now ago. And I met this dude at the pool. He's called Connor, and he was sitting there, and he said to me, bro, you want a beer? I said, yeah, why not? Let's have a beer. We had a drink, and in the night we went together to have like a nice dinner, ate calamari at the beach. And he was so kind and so nice to me, because he was like, at that point, 27, and I was 19. And he kind of went through all these things I went through now, and he was like burned out from because he worked as a software engineer, founding engineer in a startup, Silicon Valley startup. And he was burned out, so he took this like 3-4 months off in Southeast Asia. And he said he kind of sees himself in the past in me, in my 19-year-old me. And I didn't understand it back then, but now I'm 27, and I can understand that how he saw me. And so I did an exchange to the United States, and we kind of stayed in contact, one fast forward 1 year, and he lived in Los Angeles, and I said to him, hey man, I'm right now in the US, where are you right now? He said, yeah, I'm in LA, you can hang out at my place. And I just booked a flight to LA, and he picked me up from the airport, and we slept. We were at his place and had a nice time there in LA, and he showed me around, and it was really cool. And then he said to me, bro, I think you're a really smart guy, and I see something in you. And kind of from that day on, he became my mentor, and he trained me like really hard. Like he teach me software engineering really well. We kind of like took calls in the night, like 10 at the night for me, because San Francisco is 9-hour time difference. So for him it's like in the morning, for me it's in the night, right? And so he became my mentor, teach me, and I worked really crazy hard. I remember how I did an exchange semester in Paris, and I didn't like do Erasmus like the other students did. Instead, kind of like I stayed in my room until like 12 in the night and tried to really understand Ruby on Rails, SQL, Python Flask, and so on, like coding, become a good software full stack engineer. And then I did several interviews with different companies. In the end, I did the company with the startup he's working for. He said, now you're ready. And I did the startup, and I passed the startup. And that got me the position as a software engineer in this California-based startup, Notable Labs, right, which is a previous YC company also. So he became my mentor, and he became such a shaping figure in my life. And I just met him randomly in Indonesia in a hostel, right? So I always tell the story to people because I want to show them that how many beautiful things you can sometimes encounter in random moments. So be open for them, be there. Just be open for these moments because you never know what is going to happen. This happened to me not because I was like trying really hard to find a mentor on like a platform. Sure, that can also work, or go to crazy many networking events. No, I just met him in a pool, on a pool, at the side of the pool in Indonesia in a hostel. And that's it. And kind of the magic happened there, and we stayed in contact and became my mentor. And I'm very grateful for Connor, and I think without him I wouldn't be here where I am today. So he was a very shaping figure in my mentorship and my life to be who I am today also. And I think I'm very thankful for him. So he's my mentor, yeah, a very shaping figure.
That's a beautiful answer, and for those maybe who where their quest feels impossible, one of my favorite quotes is from Paulo Coelho, is that those who follow their dreams, the world conspires on their behalf, and friends will emerge in I think, unexpected counters of the world. And I think this idea of like, even if something feels impossible today, there are people who have had similar journeys who will pop out of nowhere and come to help and aid. What is the particular lesson you feel you've learned from Connor?
Oh, particular lesson. I think when I say learn to learn to learn, it's a bit inspired by him, because he always said learn to learn. So his phrase was kind of like, you have to learn, because the better you're able in learning something, it's kind of an exponential function, the more you get better in it. And then I took it from him, learn to learn, and I made it to learn to learn to learn, you know? So that's maybe a lesson I have from him, which shaped me very much. Like, be good in learning something very fast, adapt fast, learn fast, and dive deep.
How do you think about problems? Because like, one of the things I'm fascinated by, particularly the AI space and the things that you guys are doing, is how do you think about problems? If you were to record a masterclass or a standard operating procedure of how you encounter a problem and how you learn about it to fix it, what's your personal process for going through this?
For like, if I encounter a problem.
How do you learn? Like, how do you, if you would write a table of contents for your book, and it's learn to learn to learn, what do you think the table of contents would be about, roughly? You know, like?
The table of contents would be, I think there is a great graph, first of all, which is this Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Where people think they know a lot, but they actually know nothing. So I think that maybe would be the first chapter, accepting that you know nothing and that you know very little and you're not really an expert on your field, and there's so much more that you can learn. It's kind of maybe the first step, because some people are like, and I think that's a danger that some people run into. Maybe they're like at a specific point, they think they have learned, and they think, okay, now that's it. I don't need to like learn more. I'm like, okay, right? I have like studied a master's degree, I have worked for 3 years, I have like read a few papers, and I'm good now in my field, right? That's it. I don't need to learn more in my life. But I think you never should stop learning. You should always continue to learn. So in this case, I think the Dunning-Kruger effect hits very well. You learn a lot. You are fairly well, but there's so much you still don't know, and accepting that. Maybe that would be my first chapter, I think, of this book. Second chapter, I think, would be grit. Maybe you have to learn. To learn also means to, you know, when I started to learn programming, it was not fun. It was horrible. I hated it a bit. Because, I mean, it's so exciting because you create something and then pop up a website or something out of nowhere. It was like, wow, this is so cool because I just did something and now I have created something. But also you hit your head against the wall and it hurts until you finally break through. And being able to endure that pain of learning, because learning can also be painful, I think, because to really understand something deeply until it makes this aha moment, you have to sometimes dive very deep and have to really kind of force yourself through something sometimes. You have to, it's like a bit like a workout, you know, like you push, and then you gain more mastery because you push, but because you had this painful moment. You cannot just like learn something very crucial, very new, deep, without going through this pain of like kind of like learning and not understanding it, because admitting to yourself, I don't get it, I'm kind of like not understanding it, is slightly part of a painful moment, right? So maybe that would be my second chapter. And in the third chapter, I haven't thought of it yet. I mean, I guess I have to write this book one day, huh? Maybe just like about curiosity, stay open, and like something like a bit like positive feeling, outlook, enjoy, a bit like philosophical, maybe something like this.
I love it. I love this. the idea of like knowing that in the beginning you overestimate yourself, and that like there's a valley of realization. But it's one of the things I found in successful founders is you kind of need both. You need the delusion, like,
Yeah.
because it's
a bit delusional to found a company.
one of the
also.
things my co-founder always liked in me that was a little bit like an idiot in a way, where I was like unaware of how hard it's going to be. It's like, we're going to smash it. It's going to be a unicorn company, and we're going to change the world. And part of that belief is fueled by the ignorance of not having that data of doing that in a way, but not staying discouraged, but having the pain also that you described from persevering through the learning curve. Because one of the things I feel is important, both for artists and founders, is the great ones feel pain until it's correctly, in a way. So it's like not thinking there's something wrong with you if you feel a lot of pain while learning something. I think it can also be an indicator that you're onto something. For instance, that you will feel like a tinnitus on it. It's like until you're there, you feel it anyway. How do you manage the urge to success in regards to where you are? Because I think it's a strange game as a founder where you can see the vision, but you have to endure the reality. How do you bridge this gap?
Yeah, wow.
Does that make sense?
Your question is basically you are asking, how do you stay delusional while being realistic? Is that your question in a way?
Exactly, because it's like you have this strange sense with you have to inspire other people to buy into what you're doing, and you have to believe it. But then at night,
you sometimes maybe doubt it.
I take my monitor and I'm in the trap. I'm like, this looks not like like what I have painted in a way. So it's like, how do you handle the crashes?
But that's
reality?
like the iceberg image, right? Like if you look at any kind of founder, they also went through kind of crazy shit until they were there, right? They didn't start like at the top. They started somewhere at the bottom, and they went with the monitor in the subway. And I think this is actually very cool that you do it, and I think even inspiring. If I would see a person like this, it would inspire me. Because, I mean, I would see that what this person goes through, And I think some people who don't understand it, they wouldn't understand it, and for them it wouldn't be inspiring. But for the people who understand it and who see it, for them it would be inspiring because they know, So I think it would be, when I would see that, it would be definitely inspiring, but some people are ignorant towards these things. Or maybe they just don't want it. Not everybody also has to be a founder, right? Some people are just okay with not being a founder and trying something delusional, crazy, and living 9 to 5 is also okay, Not everybody has to be, I think. Something I realized. I first thought when I started a company, why is not everybody fucking starting a company? It's the best thing they can do. But it's just not made for everyone also. People are different. But regarding your question, how to stay kind of positive and inspire others while still being realistic, it's something for sure I have in myself also. Sure, you have sometimes doubts. But you have to sometimes, as you said, just be so delusional and very positive, because if you bring positivity as a leader to the room, you will make other people follow you. But if I start into the room and I'm like, it's okay, then nobody will follow me, right? It's a bit like this theory, psychology of human beings. Let's say that you're in the street and you see one person running into the other direction, and there are maybe 100 people. If one person runs into the other direction, the whole crowd would still think, just a weirdo. Then you see 2 people running into the other direction. You would doubt a bit, okay, now it's already like 2 people doing that. If 5 people do that, you would think, maybe I should also do it. And at a certain point, I think the threshold is like 20% or something like this. If 20 people would run into the other direction while 80 people were working into this direction, it would bring the whole mass to turn around and also run into the other direction. It's like a bit of psychology of human beings. And I think this applies very well to startups. You have to run into that direction, believing you have to run into this direction, even though the whole crowd runs to another direction. And then you can really make them believe also and understand that this is the right direction.
How did you learn to get people to follow you, or to people to buy into the vision? Like, what's a story that comes to mind, or something where I realize I have this? Because I think it's very special ability, actually, to unite people under a common cause.
I think, don't want to sound arrogant, but I think I'm pretty good with people. I think normally people seem to like me, generally, because I bring positive energy. Normally when people are like meeting me afterwards, they're like, oh, I like the dude, he brings positive energy to the room. I think it's about the positive energy, and he believes. That's again like maybe the point, he just believes. It's like, wow, I can feel, when I talk with people and they talk maybe about Needle, or I talk about like the vision and the startup and the life, they're like, he's something weird, a bit different, but I can see it, I can feel it. Maybe this guy is going to make it. This is something I heard many times. I think it's about bringing energy.
What I find very interesting is that for instance, I'm not a technical founder.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm usually the visionary behind the company and the good at everything that involves human psychology and people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not very good at technical things. And I found it sometimes there are many of the skills you have in a visionary you don't have in the technical people,
mm-hmm.
in a way,
mm-hmm.
where they are, and makes sense also. The screen is so close in front of you, it must be hard to see the big picture. But you seem to have learned to tap into both. How did you learn how to think like a visionary?
I think the thing is, I wouldn't describe myself as a great technical person. I am a technical person. I was very the software engineer, data engineer. I'm also coding still for Needle, right? I just don't think I'm like the best technical person. There are much better technical people than me. I see myself more as a generalist, actually. So maybe I was never just a technical person. Maybe I was always like a different kind of person, you know? I mean, in my bachelor's I studied mechanical engineering, and in other bachelor's in industrial engineering. I did an internship in a bank because I thought maybe I want to go in finance. Then I met Connor and kind of moved me towards being a software engineer and studying a master's in computer science. But I think I was always like interested in many different things. So I think I was never really like the crazy technical person. I'm just having the ability maybe to learn many things fast. So I learned to be technical, but I wouldn't consider myself like crazy technical, because I think to be a great technical person, you have to have the skill of sitting down 4 hours and diving like amazingly deep into a crazy boring topic sometimes. And I think I'm not that great in that. So maybe I was never like a really great technical, or I am not really great technical person ever, like the best software engineer out there. I must say, Onur, who is my co-founder, sure, he's much, much better than me. If I spent on a technical problem 5 hours, he may solve it in 2 hours or 1 hour, you know? So it's better spend time that he spends time on technical stuff and I spend time on the other things. Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Can you pinpoint to a defining moment in your first chapters of your life where, like a nexus event that gave you some superpowers that are now helpful to you in your journey?
Some superpowers in the childhood, or more?
Can be something bad, like Batman losing his parents and then suddenly his sense for justice awakens, or it can be something good where you're falling in love and you learn to strive for great things, or something that comes to mind where you're like, I think this is one of the superpowers I have, and I think it's connected to being awakened in this particular moment or chapter.
I think for me it's, it sounds a bit weird, but I think sometimes good or interesting founders are a bit weird because they do something very different. As I said, the whole mass walks into that direction, they walk into the other direction, even run into the other direction, sprint into the other direction. And I think they are unhinged, like they are like somewhat broken maybe sometimes. And I think I started Needle and I worked in Switzerland. I had a 6-figure salary job. I had a good life, right? I could have like saved up, buy a house, stuff like that, start a family. And then my ex-girlfriend separated herself from me. And that decided me to, now I'm like 26 or 20, something like this, yeah. What do I want to do in life? I kind of was so trapped into this, like already into this, how my life is going to look like. I already had it all pictured out, right? Because it was pretty clear where the path is going to be. We are together, we're married, buy a house, kids, family, take your job, pay your loan. And I always wanted to start a startup, and it was kind of in myself. I tried different bootstrap startups on the side, like a tiny house market application I had during COVID, because tiny houses were booming like crazy. I had like a application for finding roommates, something like Tinder, swiping, but finding roommates. I had developed that app because I found it very hard when I moved many cities. I lived in Copenhagen, Paris, Madrid, United States stuff, to find like a flat. So I thought very cool to have that app. And when she broke up with me, I think maybe that made me a broken person in that moment to start a startup. So I think that moment, it was a dark moment. I went through some dark times because it really broke me and it really hurt me. But now I'm happy that we did it because it makes me where I am today. And if I'm happy where I am today, then everything which has happened in the past, whether good or bad, has led me where I am today, and then all is good. I think that moment, actually, this breakup, and I remember it very closely and vivid in front of my own head how this moment happened. Maybe that moment actually, yeah, broke me a bit to be so delusional about starting a startup and wanting it so much, because you get a little bit like, fuck that shit, I'm going to make it. Yeah.
Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, had a similar story.
From which company?
Oracle.
Oh, from Oracle.
Yeah.
Oh.
He had also a moment where a breakup led him to actually start his own thing, because he also was completely liberated from the constraints of the path that it was to have with this particular person in a way. And she didn't believe in him anymore. And that was a big thing, where he was liberated from the urge to impress her or play her game, and instead just said like, fuck it, now I can actually do whatever I want, and this is what I would like to do.
Maybe in a parallel universe, the founder of Oracle is still together and also living an okay life. It doesn't mean like it's a bad life. It could also be has a happy.
It's so strange. It's so strange when you think about it, right? It's like for me, I've written many books about behavior therapy at some point, and I was doing some counseling for a while, and I've seen over and over again where the worst things that happen to people later turn out to be the initiators for the chapters that led them to who they would eventually become. So it's strange in regards to encountering like those kind of moments as like, let's stay curious and see.
Let's change something in our life.
Yeah. What advice would you give for somebody, for instance, who is in that moment though? Because I think like you can go many different directions, and I think the idea that you took this break up to break through is something very, very interesting. But what was something in that moment, for instance, that helped you to? Did you ask yourself a particular question during this time, or was it just something that emerged out of you?
During the breakup?
Yeah.
I think I just went into intuition. I didn't really think so much. I just did things, and they led to each other. It's not like I sit down and wrote into my diary and I was making a clear plan, this is going to happen like this and this and this and that. Didn't do that. Somehow like life happened, and life happened to me. I didn't like put it like really, I didn't have like a detailed plan, but I'm also not the greatest planner, I think. I'm not the greatest organizer. I'm a bit like chaotic maybe sometimes, I think.
Well, in regards to planning and vision and strategy, like how would you describe how your brain or your being works in regards to picking direction? Because it's like one of the things I noticed from, or I will let you answer first, I don't want to bias the question.
I think it's just like, I think I'm not so good in planning these small steps, but I'm very good in big picture, and then I'm spontaneous on the way. I have a big picture, I know that I'm going to be there, like there, over there. How I get there, not yet so sure, but I figure out the way. But I know I will go there, you know? So, and then I'm spontaneous on the way. But I know already where I want to go long term. Short term, I have not so clear idea. I don't know what is going to happen in 3 months, in 4 months, in 6 months. But I know what is going to happen in like 5 years. You know?
How did the big picture come to you?
I think it's something which grows into yourself, like a dream that grows.
How did this dream, what is the dream that you're pursuing right now?
I'm dreaming like I want to do something which is making me happy and fulfilling my life. I think that's everything. Everybody is searching for that, but I think happiness is a bit like a delusion sometimes, because happiness is something you have. You try to grasp it, and then it evaporates again, and it's just in the air, and you don't have it anymore. So I'm trying to like. My vision is to make it a great company, make it a great place to work. Like I want that people who work with us, they enjoy it. Like some people say, for example, oh, company is not your family and friends. Try to separate it. But to be honest, I think very opposite. I'm every day working with these people, so they should be almost my best friends also, right? And we are seeing each other in the office almost every day. Not that we work for the same company, but we work in the same office. So I'm very happy that we are friends. Because if not, then you're miserable, because you spend most of your life in this kind of environment with these people. So they should. I want to create a great environment, company, a great culture within the company where people enjoy working together, and we're just having fun, and we are creating something great and meaningful to help others. That's kind of like the thing. But company culture for me, for example, matters a lot actually.
you speak to my heart, and it's like, I see you every day, and it's like, and sometimes I wonder if, I think, I'm also a founder, I'm also strange, and it's like, I got kicked out from the public education system early on, and it was by myself a lot, then it was, and I think sometimes my urge to create a startup or my current company is also to, and where many founders actually want to create a mirror world that is rich in the very thing that they were missing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like a small own world.
Yeah, because for me, like yes, like I have the paper answer to the investors. This is going to be a tetracorn and it's going to change the world. But actually, the idea of having a gang where everybody has each other's back, like a little village of people who believe in each other, like actually that is much more.
That's very
meaningful.
Meaningful,
to me,
yeah. That's very
where
meaningful.
It's like, yeah, very interesting.
That makes you happy. If other people are happy also, you know.
And that's also something I think that's very. Viktor Frankl once said that happiness must ensue. It can never be pursued. And I think like this idea of like very wrong, for instance, with the culture in Berlin right now is they all seek the happiness to grasp it. But for me personally, that has always ruined my life if I gave into hedonistic urges when partying too much. But the thing that made me happy was to help, be useful, and to do something that is worth doing. And then as a side effect, like I would feel amazing if we would make progress towards this in a way. What is your definition of happiness? What do you strive after?
Peace, I think. Peace of mind. To wake up, and I don't know if that ever is going to happen, but it would be so nice to have not think about problems in your head. If I would picture happiness, then I would picture myself maybe like great environment, great people, and peace of mind.
One of the things I'm also interested in is initiations. I think like my father, for instance, he's a little bit like a Renaissance man. He grew up from Lebanon, and when he was in the army, initiated to being a man, they just gave him a knife and sent him to the forest for a week and said, survive.
No, really?
Maybe you come back, maybe you don't come back.
Wow.
In a way. And so they had these old rituals of passing from one stage to another. When you think of your own journey in regards to an accidental or purposeful ritual you had that helped you to mature from boy to man, what is something that came to mind?
From boy to man.
Can be.
Wow, that's a great point, actually. I don't know if there's this particular moment that happened. Like, I think it's just a process, right? Over time, like any of these experiences. I mean, living abroad, studying abroad, working abroad. They led you to kind of where you are today, and I think maybe still in the progress also, right? I don't know if like there's ever going to be man. You look sometimes at 50 or 60-year-old people, and they're still boy in some situations. We all have a child in ourselves, which we will carry, I guess, for the rest of our lives. So I don't know. I think it's more like several moments, but not like one moment that. But I didn't have such a knife in the forest moment, I think.
well, in many degrees, I think we all had those. It's like, for instance, when similar to you, for me, leaving my hometown, going into the world, and having situations where I have to make it. And it's like I can't call anybody anymore to fix those problems. I think I think the forest can be a city also, if you think about it.
I think maybe I was very, very guarded by my parents until I was 18. So my parents are great. I love them, and they always took care for me. And it's not something crazy, but I think it's very important. And I think in some countries it's not happening, but the children move out like with 18. I moved out with 18. I remember I was alone in my flat, and it was quite far away from my parents. And that moment, evening, I was also crying. But I think you're right. Maybe in that moment I grew up from being boy to being man, because now I live here far away alone, and I have to figure out my life. So yeah, but I think many people have that moment, so it's not such a special moment, but I think it should happen very early. I think I always didn't understand these people who study and then they stay with their parents, or they stay in their hometown and travel with the train to the university or something. I think you need to move out like early, very early, and live by yourself, to go into the forest.
Do you think this urge is something you're born with, or something you decided? Because like for me, there is
interesting.
Because for me, this is part of being a leader, is that you're like it's just this pioneering spirit that is in your soul. Like for me, I always was curious. Like we need to go there to see what's looking. And I think like in order to start something in a way, you first have like a curiosity about a destination that you haven't yet explored, and then creating like your team to journey there, to have an expedition. And like a startup for me is in many ways an adventure of this sort. It's like it would be cool if we would experience this, and then can we go there together? Do you think that this is supposed to always something with you?
I think you have a great point, actually. I like it. I haven't thought about it, but you have a point, because in human society and human history, there always needs to be someone, like some people stay and they're like, okay to stay, but some people are like curious enough to go. I don't know, let's say Michelangelo or something, he tried something really random, I don't know, to develop a plane, something which people wouldn't dare. Maybe Columbus was thinking, I'm going to explore India, and he came to Americas, right? So there must be already someone that crazy enough to dare, right, to go. And that is going then to change, again, the whole crowd. But the whole crowd is going to first look at this one person, okay, let him go, or her, let her go, look how it comes back, maybe, maybe not, and then we can follow afterwards if this path is secure. But somebody needs to follow first. I don't know if that is like born inside a human being, or if it's just because the human has been made the experiences in the right constellation to become that person. Maybe a combination of both.
I love that you said it. Maybe this is the definition of what being a human is in our most fundamental configuration, where it's like at some point we were in a safe cave, and there was just some dude who said like, let's see what's on the other side of the forest. Yeah. And then we went out, even though it didn't make sense for him, but this is maybe how our journey began in a way. I love this idea of like being the first man or something.
Yeah, exactly, first. Yeah. By the way, I said Michelangelo, it's Leonardo da Vinci, not Michelangelo. I fucked up the Italian names.
Yeah, both.
But they were pioneers, people. Yeah.
What's a pioneer who's impacted you more than others in inspiring you?
Today? Or
from the past?
Life? In the past.
If you would time travel, for instance, and you can you can take my sport, and you used to do YouTube street content, for instance. Who would you interview if you could then interview anybody from history?
To be honest, I think it's not so interesting. Sometimes people say, I want to interview, I don't know, George W. Bush or something like a crazy big person. I think sometimes the beauty is in the stories of the normal people, and they have a crazy story. So I would rather want to just encounter somebody random, hear to their story and learn something from this story, because the story, maybe the person is not as famous, but yet the story and the kind of like tales behind the story are kind of similar to every human, I think. They are described differently in small scale as well in big scale, but in the end it comes kind of to similar ends. And I like the small stories more.
I love that. This is the essence of my current new startup, Alexandrian, where we're trying to build a library where we preserve the stories of human beings for future generations. And it's the underlying belief is that every brain is an Alexandrian library that is completely unique, that had a once in lifetime perception of reality and stories that you cannot find anywhere else, that are as unique as a fingerprint. And I always think like if people find other people boring, they are not listening well enough. And it's like talking to, I don't know, like a knight from the 15th century must be so interesting.
Cool.
I would love to, like, what are your problems, or what is your dreams, your hopes? Like, what do you aspire to be? What would you tell us?
I want to say one thing here. I think very cool idea, by the way, but the thing is that also on like these social media platforms, let's take Instagram, the best performing content is not like a speech of a famous person. Rather, this is somebody interviewing somebody in the street, and maybe it's like a father who's lost his daughter and tells about the story, how it shaped him and where he is right now. And this is getting then like 2 billion or 2 million clicks. 2 billion clicks is a bit much, but like 20 million clicks or something like this.
Really? Tell us a little bit about your YouTube chapter.
My YouTube chapter, I mean, back then my ex-girlfriend and me, we started it. And the very first video we did was actually when we lived in Copenhagen, because we thought, we moved to Copenhagen, we are a Spanish-German couple, maybe it would be interesting for other couples to understand how it is to move to Copenhagen and live there as foreigners. Because it's something many people maybe want to do, so they, before going, search. And we would have loved to hear somebody who is similar to us telling us their story. I would have loved to see before doing something. It's basically you look at your future self in a way. So we created this content for people to also, who want to maybe move there and understand. It was just one video, and I think it got like 60,000 clicks, and we just had one video, and we were like, whoa, we were a very small channel, like 50 subscribers or something, but the video had 60,000 clicks, and then we got like 1,000 subscribers or something, because people watch, but they don't subscribe to the channel. Except if you like call them like 50 times in the video, hey, also please subscribe. That's what YouTubers do.
Please subscribe if you're
please
watching
subscribe.
this video.
Exactly. Subscribe, like, share, comment. And then we didn't really do it, but we realized somehow people could resonate very well with our content, like that we are telling a story of ourselves. And when we moved to Zurich, Switzerland, many people also are interested in moving to Zurich, Switzerland, and we were like, there's no YouTube channel about people that are foreigners moving to Zurich, Switzerland, telling about their story. Yet, so many people do that. Why is there nobody doing that? I would have loved to see some content like us doing exactly what we do. And then we started to talk a bit about our experiences, how is it to find a flat, how is it to find a job, which is basically like what people also are curious about. How is it to find friends? And then we started one day to just do one interview in the street, and we realized, wow, this gets much more clicks than other videos. People seem to care much more about the opinions of people in the street than our opinions. And why is that? Because it's very authentic. The person in the street is a regular person, which opinion is kind of not fake. If I do a video and I talk a content like this into the camera, could be that I have scripted it before, could be that I talk specifically before. But if you just interview somebody like spontaneous in the street, this is very authentic content and real content, and you can be very sure that this is kind of true and honest what this person is saying. And then we continued doing these street interviews because they were like so resonating so well with the crowd. And then we reached like, I don't know, 20,000 followers, and like we had sponsorship with Lingoda, and on some videos we had like 500, 6,000 clicks. So in Zurich I was normally recognized on the street, like people took pictures with me in the Lidl, in the supermarket, on the street. I don't know, I was taking pictures with people in Barcelona, in Bucharest. So actually people recognized us also outside of Switzerland. Also I was recently here recognized in Mauer Park by a family. They're like, oh, you're Jan from YouTube, where's your girlfriend? I said, girlfriend and I not anymore together, channel taking down. So, but...
not helpful for the breakup, probably.
No, it's all good now, but yeah, it's kind of the story of the YouTube channel.
Yeah, but you're touching on something profound, and it's like one of the people I find also inspiring is Steve Jobs, and he had I struggled very much to pitch my company recently, and he had a speech in 1983 where he said like one of the things that kept Steve Jobs out of prison were books, and he said his teachers were not very good, and he loved the idea that there was no intermediary between the knowledge of great books and him. For instance, he would read Aristotle, because Aristotle was the mentor of Alexander the Great, and he wanted to ask Aristotle questions. And he would envision for the future for a tool that would be without intermediary, where we can capture the worldview of those philosophers and ask questions. And I think it's so interesting that
I saw that video.
I love that video because it's like it gave me the words to describe what I wanted to build, and one of the best use cases for AI in general. But when you're talking to people on the streets, there's no intermediary in between. It's like, and I think like people just are sick and tired of like overly curated content that is not truth-based anyway.
Exactly.
That's like something
just honest. Like I don't know any of the questions you're asking right now before, and you're just asking them, and they just come, and I have to answer them on the spot.
Well, you saw me today in the morning, so many of those questions are also ones that I didn't really prepare. That I just
yeah, right. So it's spontaneous.
Other people don't know, like I slept like 3 hours, and I had to take a cold shower to become a human again. So I hope that
machine, impressive.
Advice to your younger self. If you would talk to the version of yourself that set out to meet Connor, what would you would give that person as advice?
I would say don't try to change. Be honest with yourself. Just like be who you are, and that's okay. Sometimes maybe when you're younger, let's say you're 16, you have like I was never part of like the cool group, I think, in the school. I was more like in the nerd group. But sure, you have like doubts, and maybe you want to be also liked by others. And because of that, you may like dress in a specific way or like do specific things because you think they are cool, and others you want to be liked by others. But bro, don't give a fuck. Just be yourself, and that's, I think I would say myself. You're a nice guy. Just continue to be you, and that's it. You will find yourself. I think that's all I would say to my younger self. Not so much more.
Would you give a warning?
A warning? No, I wouldn't give a warning because that would create like kind of fear. I would just say you will enjoy the ride and take it.
2 more topics. If you could give a big fan of like, I think traditional education doesn't really prepare you to be a leader or to be an executive.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, it's like you're learning many of the opposite qualities that you actually need to learn. So it's like for me,
Follow, don't don't speak up, be silent. That kind of these. Yeah, it's not a leader kind of. Or
if you would teach like one master class about at a university for people who went on the journey, what would you teach?
I would try to teach positive mindset and challenge. Like, because I think many people have not positive mindset. And so you ask the question, would you give a warning? Many people are like saying, oh, we are going through bad economic times. But I feel like always bad times. Never like they're saying outlook is great. Always outlook is negative. I would try to teach outlook is amazing. You're the best outlook ever there right now. Let's fucking go. You can make it, and everybody can make it. So trying to focus a class on creating positive mindset. This I think maybe I would do, and challenge kind of opinions, challenge ideas, challenge structures.
What's something you believe now to be true that at the beginning of your story wasn't the case?
My belief now is
One of the things I am, for instance, very paranoid about is like beliefs that I currently have that are not correct, that lead me into the wrong direction. I think like sometimes it's interesting, something that you now know to be, or something you now know to be false, that at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey you thought to be true.
But I thought maybe it's easier. I thought that I think something I realized is, I thought I start the startup and other people, my close friends or something, they will say, fuck yes, Jan, I support 100%. To be honest, many people who are in your circle, they support you somewhat, but they are never like, fuck yes. Everybody has their own problems, everybody lives their own life. They don't understand through which hard times you're going sometimes. And they're maybe not as helpful as I thought. So in the end, the people who are most helpful, and I find this really crazy, is the people that you don't know so well. Like new people, random people, people that you met on the street, people that you meet in an event, people that you encounter over LinkedIn. These are in the end your real supporters, your real heroes, the people who lift you up, who tell you you're doing amazing, I want to support, how can I help you? While I would have thought in the very beginning, I can count very much on the people that I already know very well to support me, previous like people, colleagues I worked with, like previous people I studied with, and I thought they would be more like supportive, like, oh yeah, let's support you because I know starting a startup is crazy hard, so I'm here to make good introductions for you, or I'm here to give you feedback on your product or something. But no, these people are not so much helping you. The people who help you the most are kind of the ones who are the furthest away somehow. Something I didn't expect in the beginning of the startup, and I realized, but that's okay.
It's a very powerful lesson. It's like a very powerful lesson actually is one of the things I try to live by is that I don't trust friendships or allies that are not forged in fire. Like my father was for times politically persecuted and things got very rough sometimes. And one of the things that always surprised me was in situations where his life was in danger, mine was in danger, who would help? And it was never the people I expected to have. Like one thing, for instance, where he didn't have, they took his passport away and we didn't have an insurance anymore for him. And he got like heart attack, he needed surgery. And I always expected some of the people I would trust to ship in some money. And I still remember even going to the church and thinking like, these guys for sure will help. And they gave us like kartoffelpüree. I still remember it as a,
really?
Yeah, and I was like, God is with you. And I just remember it's like, you were one of the first people I think like, at least would ask around or something. And then later on, it's often people you would never expect. And it's like, I think like a valuable lessons for people who embark on a leadership journey is you do not know somebody until you've asked them for a favor where it is unpopular or harming to them to help you.
Yeah, that's right. I think your point is very great, but it's maybe a bit different because I think what I say, I'm still very good friends with them. It's just that we are not like on the business level. It's okay that you are different on a business level and friendship level. It doesn't need to like be together, I think, you know? You can,
I think there's a great difference between being friendly with somebody and being a friend.
I think you can be a great friend and you can support each other and like be there for each other. For example, in that situation as you had where there's like, it's about like health or something, I think for sure I could count on. But in terms of startup, I want to more say that people, they don't understand how hard it is because they have never been in this situation. And maybe even the people are doubting themselves a bit because you start a startup and they're like, he's starting a startup. Am I on the right path? Or is he, like, you know what I mean? Back to the story in the beginning, running into the other direction. So you make them doubt a bit about their own kind of story. So that creates, again, like a not so pleasant feeling maybe for them, which means like they are not so crazy willing maybe to support, you know? But it doesn't mean that that is like end of a friendship or something. It's just like surprising me and that's okay. So I'm seeing it as different things, you know? Business and friends doesn't necessarily mean they support me like crazy in my business. They are just like supporting me emotionally. We can talk about like good stuff also, and business is business and stays business.
Interesting. So for you, those things are separate ventures. You know?
I also have, as I said, I want to create a culture where we are friends and working together. But they're also friends and they have nothing to do with business, and that's okay, you know? They're friends and business is kind of is a topic that we don't touch so much. But therefore we are great on other topics together.
Very interesting.
And I think that's actually okay also. This kind of like, because then you zoom also out of business because let's say you are friends and you work with them, then you also maybe talk in your free time about business all the time, which is also fun. Sometimes maybe you also want to hang out with really great friends and not talk about business at all. So it's great that they come from different backgrounds and your stories are maybe more around.
How do you handle not talking about your business all the time? I think like for
I
me,
force myself sometimes.
I literally notice like I am so obsessed with what I'm doing, where it's like it must be really suffocating for other people right now to have this guy who's just like so monofocused in a way. How do you manage this part of yourself?
I on purpose ask questions which are not around business. Like, what does mean happiness to you? Some questions like this, I like to have deep talks and conversations about life, but that's not around business. What means happiness to you could be theoretically non-business related question. And then we can dive deep into like childhood experiences. So I like very much the questions you ask. This talk is not necessarily crazy business. It's philosophical in a way, you know? It could be a talk I have with a friend. I feel like this is conversation also, you know?
Yeah, also I'm more interested in the person. Like for me, coming from a psychological background, I'm always interested in
that's what I mean.
What people are like.
Nobody here pitches right now their startup and is like doing stuff like crazy, you know what I mean? It's more like a heartful
also for me, I had so many companies that by the time, some companies don't stay long forever, so I think like but the person stays, and I think like what's sometimes more important I think also like I think the people who watch this, they also as friends, where what is the most useful service you can do to them. I think similar to what you did on the street content, having unfiltered truth-based conversations without an intermediary is very helpful. What it's actually like, and asking questions that are interesting to me and maybe they're interesting to other people as well. Yeah. Okay. What do you make of the current leadership situation in the world right now? Because I remember you're coming from the United States.
I was in the US, for some time.
Pretty crazy
years.
right now.
I was there also right now, like 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago.
Yeah, what was that like?
I mean, I was in San Francisco, which is kind of a bubble itself, right? I think San Francisco is kind of its own thing. I didn't see like Wyoming or North Dakota or something. I think that's a very Republican state. But in San Francisco, things are like San Francisco are. They're always kind of like that. I think everybody's kind of like techie, everybody's really focused on business, everybody's like hustling, everybody's like grinding. And
do you find that place superior to Berlin in regards to, if you would be a starting entrepreneur to now with a world-changing idea, where would you recommend that person to go?
I think there is not one place is going to be the place to be. I think sometimes I find it's a bit annoying even that San Francisco is a bit getting off this overhype a bit, like, oh, you're in San Francisco and you make it unicorn. No, it's not like that. Sure, there may be some connections you can reach, which you cannot reach somewhere else because the density of VCs is really high there, so you can maybe encounter a VC sitting in a cafe next to you. Sure, that can happen, it's more likely there, but in the end it comes down to you to execute and ship. And I don't believe so much in this kind of like, I go to crazy many networking events and then I'm going to make it. No, I have to like talk with users, I have to understand the user's problem, and I have to solve the problem and sit down and deep dive and fix the problem by creating a great user experience, creating a good product, you know. Whether I'm like on 20 networking events or 500, in the end doesn't really make a difference. If you want to raise money, and you are just about to raise money, I think it can make sense to go there for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then like kind of what I did, and then create some good connections, and later on they can help you maybe to raise a seed round or Series A round because the density is very high to make like these investor connections. But I feel like also there's a lot of noise in San Francisco. I met many people, and some people I'm asking myself, are you really like a founder, or you like want to be a founder and you have like an idea? How far along is your product? How many users do you really have? Like, there's so much like noise that sure, maybe some of these make it, but others maybe just like thin air and nothing like nothing grounded.
A friend of mine calls these cosplay founders.
So yeah, this is you can see also many there. I feel I'm asking myself, it's hard to sometimes understand, is this real or is this not real? But because there are so many, some of them also make it, you know. I don't know. I don't know the exact data points on this. I would love to see the exact data points on this, and then I could make a grounded statement on the data. But I think I recently saw the fact that the capital is also so much more there. Like capital is X factor 100 or something. If you have 100 X factor on capital and you just pour more money into more different things, then likelihood of one being successful also higher. But that doesn't mean like being capital. How would you say, capital very efficient. I mean, yeah, so I'm asking myself this sometimes a question, how capital efficient you are, like relatively to how much you raised, how much did you grow and how much did you win, compared to you raise a lot of money and then if you make it, then the efficiency of your capital
It's very interesting, like the point of like...
I would need to see statistics on that to make a grounded decision, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think I've written a book once about cognitive psychology and thinking errors, and it seems to me this idea, I'm just going there and everything is going to work out.
Yeah, that's not right. It's in the end you.
It's actually you. What is the problem you're fixing for other people? So you can't leave the founder part out, right?
Yeah, you cannot just hang out and drink coffee and hang out in network events and think you're solving the problem of the world and you're going to create an amazing product. You have to sit down and work on it.
I love that.
So I think it's a good combination. Like, it's good to be there for some time.
Also, how do you believe now with LinkedIn and Zoom meetings that's actually like a revolution that people, I don't think they're talking about, but it's been completely normal to have Zoom meetings with people. So we can even raise from US from being here, right?
Yes, you can. For example, we met two investors in person, but the other two we only met online. We never met in person yet. So yeah, that's also something you can do, I guess. And something I realized also today is about products, and a product like yours also, it's very important to go kind of a bit viral on social media in a way. And that doesn't matter where you are. For example, you can see maybe N8N, this workflow company, open sourced and self-hosted, right? They have a cloud version, but they just went big on Reddit, and that's why they are so big now. I mean, on Reddit, so many people posted about Reddit, and now it became big. But they are not necessarily have gone, I think, to many networking events or hosted hackathons or crazy like this. They just created the good product. People love the product. They did great job there, and yeah, people like talked about it on Reddit. And Reddit is a bit maybe like YouTube street interview. It's like an unfiltered opinion of somebody. If somebody says something on Reddit, normally I value it quite a lot. And if you look at LLMs, I think they also value quite a lot of content from Reddit very highly. They rank it. So LLMs also kind of base their foundations, I think, OpenAI on Reddit content.
Yeah, I think sometimes very hard also for the brain to integrate that the world seems to have changed.
Seems to have changed a bit, yeah.
Because like if you think about it, I started to do my podcast in English because I felt in order to become the best at my craft, I need to go to the US and study at Harvard or Stanford or.
It's definitely a help because if you talk with.
But I could, like, for me, it was strange that I could get these professors in my podcast to talk with me, and so that I don't have to go there anymore. That was like, for me, is very strange. I think like the brain is also, it's also hard for us to recognize that the gatekeeping of people and resources, and prominence, and has been shifted in regards to where it seems to be more
It has been definitely shifted.
attainable to an individual wherever they are, right?
I think there's pre-COVID and post-COVID, I guess, yeah.
Interesting. You think COVID had something to do with it?
Yeah, sure. Because of COVID, Zoom went crazy, no? Teams, Slack, all these applications, they were there kind of before, but they were not that big. With COVID, everybody working from home, no traveling, boom, everything online, then you get used to it, and now it's kind of like stuck.
If you would give advice to somebody who's about to raise funds, what would you tell that person?
I would say, like, what I tried is like, try to talk to people and as many as you can, and you will get no's like crazy. Many people don't believe in you because especially when you are like so early into the game, it's not so much about like if you have already $1 million revenue or if you have the most amazing product or the craziest idea of the world, because likely these investors know your idea will pivot, your idea will pivot, and you are going to change over time, but can you as a person make it? So it's in the end, like, I think the investment is like 60% or 70% you as a person, and 30% maybe your product and idea, or the space maybe you're in. If that is both okay, then you are going to raise it. And there are different VCs which value different things. Some invest in customer goods, others invest into, I don't know, insurance tech. And with some, you're just not a fit. And then it's also okay, you know. But don't take their opinion too granted, because these investors, maybe sometimes they just studied like business as London School of Economics, and then they never really started the company themselves. So they were never really a founder. They don't even know how to be founder. So why should I value their opinion? I mean, I value their opinion. I'm happy to hear it. Don't overvalue it, because I value much more an opinion from like a founder who founded a company 3 times and exited 3 times than some investor telling me, oh, I think I looked at the market, your product, and your team doesn't make sense because XYZ. You know, like, you never started a company. You're making a statement. Sure, you can make your statement, your analysis, but I don't value it as much. So I took it in the beginning for very high value. Now I value it quite lower, actually. My weight on their opinion has been dropped a bit, because
that's something I wish I learned a little bit sooner. I think like when you're doing something you really believe in, it's like you take almost every kind of new information as put too much weight to it in a way.
I think so too.
And it's like I still remember yesterday I got like a pitch deck and just got like so much feedback from a friend of mine, and they never raise funds. So it's like, thank you for sharing at this point in a way, but I think it's also like it's not good data because it's not coming from the source who can actually, you know,
it's your brain who's going to filter out the data. Sure, maybe there's some valuable opinion in it and maybe something you can take from it, but don't overrate everything everybody says.
Yeah, but I think that's what I like also earlier about you listening to people and being empathetic. There's also information is never neutral. So for instance, I'm a sales guy too. So it's like if you give me 800 things wrong with the product before I have to talk to people, that has actually an effect of me. So I need to believe in the product to convince people. So it's, you want to shield some of that also a little bit from the person who's pitching. Yeah. Unless it's necessary.
That's also a skill as a founder, to kind of filter out the opinions, filter out the data, and make the right decisions from that.
Okay, let's move to the last part of this interview, because I know you have many meetings today. Predictions for this decade. I think you have been being correct at spotting trends, investing in NVIDIA, like doing your startup, like you were at the at the spear front of pioneering AI.
Maybe I was lucky, you know.
Well, maybe, but let's see. What's some predictions you have for what's about to happen next? You're an AI founder.
I think like
Everybody's going crazy about like on a scale of we are building Skynet, everything's gonna go down the shitter to a new renaissance is going to happen.
I think so, yeah.
What do you believe?
There's this paper of 2027, and I think it's pretty cool.
What is the paper?
It's like a vision of like how 2027 is kind of looking like with all these changes. One thing I think everybody should look into it, or not like fully read it, but actually have a look at it. And they are like pretty like pushing on the change. I think something is going to happen, and we were one of the first people who integrated into the MCP protocol, Model Context Protocol, which is kind of an open source protocol allowing LLMs to call APIs. And right now everybody talks about MCP, but we were one of the very first ones to integrate our service into MCP, actually November last year.
What does MCP mean?
Model Context Protocol. It's kind of a model context, it's open source, and it, as I said, allows LLMs to make API calls. So let's say you have an API of a Google Mail, which says, list my latest 5 emails. Then the LLM can, through the Model Context Protocol, understand, the API kind of looks like this. I have to call the API with these and these parameters to retrieve that information, because the user has the query X and wants to do that. And I think this is something we integrated with it, and we have it. And let's imagine, and I think this is going to be super cool, every application is going to be able to be kind of not programmed, but used via natural language. Let's say, for example, my parents are architects. There's like very difficult applications for architects to use. So the entry barrier of becoming an architect and using these kind of architect specialized programs is very hard, because you first have to learn up here top bar, scroll down here, then you have to use this, Command F, Command F5, you know, like to do the right things. But let's say you could say to the application with voice or maybe with text, describe what you want to do, and then the kind of application is executed like that. And I think this is going to come. This is going to be huge. Let's say, for example, that is going to be great. And I think this is going to change a lot of things, because it's going to close the entry barrier to new professions very much. Like you can become an architect fast, I don't know, software engineer, data engineer, I don't know, artist. So I think this is super cool. I think this is going to change the world.
I used to, when I would create software, I would just paint it on paper, and then I would give it to somebody, and a week later they would give me some Figma, and then I would say not like that, put it like this, and then more days would move around. And for me, one of the biggest challenges why I always needed technical co-founders was the translation of the vision into something. For the first time over the last 3 months, I've been just being able to create demonstrations by myself with some like vibe clothing applications, which is like
that's sick now, no?
They're not functional for me enough to publish or something.
Good enough for
but people can understand me.
Yeah.
And that allows me pretty much to skip almost the entry barrier now.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like kind of crazy. Like if you have an idea, you can put it onto paper by talking to it, and it seems that the AI is not the worst at understanding the meaning of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and if it now, let's say Figma has an MCP server, and it allows you kind of to interact with Figma via natural language, instead of you going there kind of manually dragging like an image and like writing some text. You just describe to Figma, look, I create me like a slide with the logo. This is how kind of the logo looks like. You upload maybe a picture, a bit of it, and then it makes you a Figma slide. I think this is going to be sick.
It is amazing, because like for me, I never understood programming language, but I understand language as an author.
Yes.
And I understand the brain, and I realize, oh wow, our brain works in very similar ways. Where we're seeing stimuli, they are translated encoded into something we can understand, and then we have the data for it.
It's like the founder of NVIDIA said, English is going to be the most popular programming language in the future.
Yeah.
English. If you know English, you know programming. It's not yet there. You still need like technical people, still software engineers, because still LLMs are okay-ish. They're like junior-ish, but if they become better over the next 5 years.
But they are already, what I notice is they're excellent designers.
Designers, they are doing sometimes a really horrible job. Sometimes they're doing an okay job. If you give them enough right input and context, they can do a good job.
What I find interesting is that it seems to be not copyrightable, that I can just tell them make it like Apple.
Yeah, I think sometimes they will complain then I cannot do this because of copyright, but I can make something similar. For example, back then I remember I created an image of me and my siblings in this lo-fi, no, not lo-fi, how's it called, Studio Ghibli style. And I said also add some Pokemons in the background because I thought it's cool to have Pokemons in the background. So I cannot add Pokemons in the background because they are copyrighted by Pokemon or Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. But I can draw you something else and I create a really ugly kind of figure. And I was like, this looks really shitty. I really want the real Pokemon.
Do you think in the future these LLMs are going to be unhinged?
Like can you reformulate your question?
One of the challenges that I'm running into is like I'm dreaming of this library where you can, without intermediary, can talk to people even if they have passed away as if they are still alive. But if I have, for instance, like a person who is controversial, who is like a controversial figure or something, I will not get the answer because it's going to be filtered by that. So it's like my idea is like, will there be competitors, for instance, to ChatGPT where there's no filter in between?
You mean that ChatGPT is not completely free because it's kind of trained on the already existing data?
For sure, and they also build in lots of constraints so that you can, so that when you want to ask like, how do I rob this bank? They tell you, I can't support this question. But do you think there will be black GPTs or something like this in the market where you're like...
Maybe they already are.
They probably are, right?
Maybe this it seems to be like if there's market, there's product. If there's people who want it, then there's product. Supply and demand. So yes, I mean, we are human beings. In the end, we are, I don't know if we are good or bad, but yeah. For sure it will happen, I think, yeah. Or if it doesn't already exist, I don't know.
Let's move to the last part. What are 3 books that have shaped you into the person you are today? If you can give 3 books.
I think one is The Almanac. I like very much. In The Almanac, there's one phrase which states, value one time of your hour with $5,000. And if you scroll for 1 hour on Instagram, is this, would you actively pay $5,000 to do that? So it's kind of, it's like a bit extreme, but it's kind of making you question a bit like, my time is valuable, how should I spend my time? Second book, I really like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Maybe I came to that a bit earlier, like
By Almanac is by who? So people know how
Naval Ravikant.
Ravikant.
Naval Ravikant is he called.
Yeah.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Mark Manson.
Yeah, because it's about like kind of like, yeah, as I said, not to give a fuck, and I think I gave too many fucks maybe sometimes. Just I said, do your thing, be yourself, don't give a fuck, go. Maybe the last book, there are many good books. Is it weird to say, but maybe Harry Potter. I really liked, I read it 4 times. Maybe Dream, and everybody can make it, and yeah, sometimes it's okay to be also a kid and dream a bit and be like delusional.
Harry Potter is a great book series. I think it's
okay, yeah.
It's
not like a business book, but I still think I learned a lot from it, from values, from like being dreamy, believing.
I think the most valuable books for business are really business books. I think like the self-help industry is the most shallow form of literature that exists.
I mean, The Almanac was a really good book. I don't know if it's like a self-help book though.
But now Ravikant is a very deep person.
Yeah. I also like this book, maybe Why We Sleep. Do you know it?
By Matthew Walker, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because there's one graphic in that book and it showed different drugs, how a spider reacts to different drugs. And I remember you did sleep just 3 hours. Sleep, the spider was fucked up big time, like it had to create a nest. It had to create a, how's it called?
A net.
A net, yeah, sorry. It had to create a net, and when it didn't sleep, it was really bad. But when it was on LSD or on cocaine, they gave it different drugs. It drew kind of different type of nets, and on sleep, it was doing the worst. And on nicotine, I think.
Well,
no, not nicotine, caffeine. So caffeine and no sleep was actually a really bad combination for the spider to draw a net, while LSD was even like not so bad actually.
Well, now you gave me the perfect excuse for if I'm not performing well in this interview. 3 hours plus lots of caffeine.
I would love to look up this picture again because I think it was very informative.
And yeah, I think it's valuing the right things and sleep is it's very important. I'm resurrecting historical figures, something I find very fascinating. If you could I get like 3 people for your board of advisors from history, you can pick anybody. Who would you pick?
I guess Steve Jobs, as you said, he's sick. I mean, the guy is crazy. He's validated like crazy. Steve Jobs. I don't know. Benjamin Graham, maybe. I think a very grounded and very like analytical person. And then we need somebody. Steve Jobs a bit like the crazy visionary. Then we have like a really grounded person. And we need some middle figure. Somebody like in between. It's a hard question actually, I find. I'm not so... Maybe the founder of Snapchat, I don't know his name, but the guy's 18 years old and I think he made Snapchat he made $1 billion exit or something. The founder of Snapchat, I think he's one of the youngest billionaires ever. I think he created the app when he was 18. So I think he would be interesting to have like young spirit, energy and kind of a bit weird, I guess. Like, I would respect him a lot because he's so young yet he was so successful. He must have done some really weird, great things right.
It's crazy, like the startup scene makes you take age almost out of the occasion.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I take it into equation this time because he's 18 and yet he did so successful.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is now, but I don't even know his
I'm very
name.
grateful I didn't have $1 billion when I was 18.
No, me neither, bro.
I would have died 3 years later of some overdose or something. If our ancestors left us an advisory letter, what do you think it would say?
If our ancestors would give us an advisory letter, what would we think it says?
Then 2 more questions.
I believe in you.
It's beautiful. If this podcast would be listened to by all the world leaders, what is the message you would like them to hear from you? A young founder in Berlin aiming for the top.
Oh, that's a great question, man. Man, your questions are really good, actually. As in questions that I have, I think, never answered sometimes in my life. So all the answers are right now new, making me even think. I like it because I grow right now as a person myself through your interview. Maybe listen a bit more to the young people. I think like the leaders always listen to the old people and like not to younger people, like I feel, because the majority of the world is like older, so also the politics and the stuff that is made is more for older people, not for like maybe like younger people or like medium-aged people who try to go a different way of not like working for a corporate, working there for 40 years and then retiring. They are like different, so I would like that they listen to more like people who really want to do something good for the world and make a change, because I think sometimes these voices are unheard, even though they are very important, because they are going to have a huge impact into the future, a bigger impact than maybe people who don't dare. Yeah, listen to those who dare, I think, but not everybody, because some of us are crazy and negative and weird, but who dare and want to do something good.
I think this is so powerful. It's like even me with my age, it's like I feel like
I mean you too, yeah, sure.
I'm a dinosaur already in a way. So no, really, because it's like everything is happening so fast.
Very fast, yeah.
It's happening faster. I think we can't afford to ignore those who know the most about what's happening right now and not take them into consideration.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to ask you one more question, then you can go back to your startup with Renault. If this podcast were the only piece of your journey to survive the test of time, what message would you leave? Like in a ceaseless, and imagine like 1,000 years from now, they only find this last piece of the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, like a letter or something. What would you say?
Subscribe, like, share to the channel. No, just kidding.
Well, you heard it here first. People in 1,000 years, when you still find this, it's make sure to subscribe.
This channel is still up, you know.
Oh.
It's still running.
I love your belief. I love your belief in this in a way.
Became a dynasty.
But if you would see it as a Dead Sea Scroll, a time capsule, you would hit it somewhere and there's a message in it.
Did they find it and the world is good or the world is bad?
I don't know.
We tried our best. We really tried hard. We tried our best to try hard, I think. And I hope it's good, and I wish you all the best, and if not, then I'm very sorry that we didn't make it right.
Well, I'm also a living testimony that you in particular are trying your best. I've seen very few people who are working as hard as you and your company do, and I think we have a very special generation actually of founders who are working their ass off to build something. And I think that's actually something that is quite special, and I hope that future generations will also remember us for people like you, that we are builders who actually were in the trenches building new tools for the future. Where can we find you? And also something, people are going to listen to this, how we can support you and your startup onwards.
Oh wow, that's very nice. Yeah, I always appreciate support. So if you want to try out Needle at needle.app.
Tell us about Needle a little bit.
Oh yeah, Needle. Needle is a startup. It evolved from the idea that information is very scattered and it's quite hard to automate kind of things inside the company based on the information that you already have within your company or you also personally, because maybe some of the information is in Gmail, some is in Confluence, others is in Notion, but all of this information matters to make the right decisions. So often as human beings we find ourselves searching through emails, searching through downloads folders, searching through PDFs and PowerPoints to find this kind of right information, to then from there derive kind of an action, because we always search for information, then to make an action. And so Needle allows you to find very easily context and find the needle in the haystack to make context aware and the right decisions and build kind of like mini automations inside your company to save your time and not do these kind of boring and stupid tasks, but instead let them be automated by some AI agent. So yeah, that's kind of what we are doing and where we see the future is going to go, that people don't like work these kind of stupid tasks, they have them automated and they're context aware of their internal data. You can use Needle at needle.app. We are launching now a really huge product release coming up, also launching on Product Hunt and all the other places, and love to hear the feedback of everyone. If you can give some feedback and try it out, then love to hear it. And if you have some ideas, I'm also always very happy to chat and listen to you. Yeah.
Where can people find you personally? What are your channels?
Personally, as I said, I will start a YouTube channel again. I don't have a name yet. Probably I call it just Jan Heimes. That's it. But I don't have it yet. But otherwise on LinkedIn you can find me also, Jan Heimes. I'm mainly on LinkedIn actually. I'm not so much a Twitter person. I'm also on Twitter, but I don't use it as much, even though everybody tells me I should use it more. But I'm more a LinkedIn person. If you want to shoot a message, you can always shoot a message. I normally answer any message. Yeah.
That's it. Thanks so much for taking the time to share your journey and your advice. Looking forward to do this again in the future.
It was very nice, man. Really, I appreciate it. It was really fun.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. For real. It was really great. It makes me excited to start my YouTube channel again.
Look it, I'm gonna subscribe.
My first subscriber already there, yes.
Okay, bro, we're done.